And we're ready whenever you are, Mayor.
Good evening and thank you for attending tonight's City Council meeting. For those who are attending remotely, the camera in council chambers is set up to show those attending in person tonight. The platform we are using has a raise hand feature. You will notice a picture of a hand in the lower left-hand corner. When we reach the point in the meeting where the public has the opportunity to address council, you can click that button to be given your opportunity to address council. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Kathy, please call the roll.
Mayor Tulley,
Here.
Councilor Silly,
Here.
Councilor Powers,
Here.
Councilor Scamperly,
Here.
Councilor Stevenson, here, Councilor Chivo, Councilor Trim, here.
I figured it out.
We can hear you now. Councilor Chivo, you're present?
I'm here.
All right, we can hear you. Thank you. Quorum present.
Thank you. And I know Councilors Powers and provided notice in a timely manner of their remote attendance at tonight's meeting and therefore may participate and vote on any action coming before council tonight. We have two presentations tonight, the first of which will be from OVRS Chief of Emergency Services Ken Gardner.
Good evening, guys, ladies, mayor, Councilor, you do it all professional.
I can.
Thank you for another quick year. Bladensburg was extremely busy. Call volume on 911 side went up by 10%. Our scratch rate stayed at the 2% mark. And on the inter-facility side, it went up 20%. And that's due to North Star, which we kind of thought what was going to happen. We were lucky enough to gain 5 additional volunteers this year, which helps obviously our staffing. Most of them are drivers, but drivers, we can't get out the door without a driver, so it works for us. The biggest problem that we've had, unfortunately, I stood up here and said, I can see, North Star becoming a real problem within 3 years. Unfortunately, I was wrong. It only took them 2, and which has put in a huge burden on us. We could have taken at least 1,000, maybe more last year if we had staffing for it, just on the transport side. Just not having the facilities or the personnel right now is very difficult, number one, on the community, but also very difficult on us, having to get those people in the proper places. And for those of you who don't know what's going on right now, they have a CAT scan machine that has been down now for 2 weeks that currently they can't pay to get it fixed because of the bankruptcy, and they have to get approved from the judge. So we have been running anybody that needs a CAT scan to River Hospital or to Camp Potsdam at least 6 to 7 times a day, which is causing extreme stress on the staffing that does it and extreme stress on the vehicles itself. And we don't know if we're going to get paid on those because the person is not actually being transported from one facility to another. So it's considered usually an in-house procedure. Fingers crossed that somehow or another through MTELA we will get reimbursed on those, but we may not, which obviously would be financial stress on us. There was a huge report that came out this year talking about the rural EMS system and that it's in big trouble, and all the different recommendations they make because of increased calls, the amount for medical supplies, amount for other types of things and staffing. And volunteer agencies, unfortunately, are not maintaining the call volume that they need to, which falls on us to cover our mutual aid territory, which we run up to 325 miles when you count the ALS intercepts that we do. So it's been extremely busy year for us with additional mileage and things like that. Right now it's just killing us. But as far as things go in the city, as far as call volume goes, it's been a huge plus. Was that our overdoses were way down last year, way down, almost in half. I'd like to say that's continuing this year, but as of right now, they are back up currently this time of year. The most amount of cases we had were chest pain calls, 170, and a lot of falls, which were 286, and that goes along with a declining age in our community. Unfortunately, you get more and more of those types of calls. As I said, our staffing continues to be good. We have been able to maintain our regular staff and our paid staff. Unfortunately, with that, obviously, our costs go way up. We have, during this past year, just alone equipment, we've ordered a new ambulance, which we will not see until the third or fourth quarter of 2027. At a cost of $380,000 without even putting anything into it. We got the pickup to help with the offshore rescue, be able to pull boat and the trailer and things like that. We updated our transport units to mobile ICU units by purchasing a Hamilton ventilator. That too cost us $14,000. And we now are ordering power load stretchers, which would be recommended to every place across the nation, but they are $86,000 a piece for the loader and for the stretcher. So every time you order an ambulance, that's an extra $86,000. Our most significant ones last year, the cost of our patient care materials amounted to $109,000 last year, which was a $32,000 increase from the year before. Our fuel costs jumped up from $52,000 to $78,000, and our paid staff expenses went up to $1.1 million, representing a $170,000 increase. As part of the rural thing, where they think it's going to help us, they're suggesting that units start trying to pay their employees at 2.5 times the minimum wage rate, where I don't know where we're finding, $40,000, just right off the bat to pay everybody. That's not counting overtime and all the other things that go on that they get. So overall, it's been a really positive year. I continue working on the Ottawa thing. We had some positive movement in that. New York State's has been willing to step up a little bit and help us out with that. In fact, the head of New York State EMS Emergency Services tells us to just go ahead and test the system and just go up there and see how it goes. I'm not so sure. I just want to go up there and see how it goes because I don't know what their hospital is going to do when we suddenly show up and just tell them we're coming in with the trauma from someplace. It makes the most sense. It's by far the closest facility that has a full cardiac lab. It has a stroke center. It also has a full level 1 trauma center. So for us, the 40-minute ride or 45-minute ride up to Ottawa compared to 35 to 40 going to Camp Potsdam would make a huge difference, I believe, in our patients' outcomes. So we'll continue working on that fight, but that's an ongoing, issue currently. But anyways, you guys have been having some long meetings, so that's enough for me, unless you guys got any kind of questions.
Thank you, Glenn. Any questions or comments from council?
Yeah.
Yeah.
First of all, thank you, and thank the squad. I know you're up against a lot. I mean, your report and everything. I can't say thank you enough, on behalf of the community. And now with the extra things. But anyways, I'm looking at your list of what you're responding to. And I see 47 overdoses.
Mhm.
And I was kind of surprised. I thought it'd be a lot higher.
But,
And then I see on the next paragraph down, it says notably, the number of overdose-related calls decreased by 50%. So it was about double the year before.
yes, sir, it's over 100 years.
And then you go on to say, this positive outcome can be attributed to the effective system established within the city of Augsburg, which has a substantial impact on reducing the number of overdoses. What is that system?
Mostly giving out the opioid enhancer, the Narcan.
The Narcans?
Yeah.
Okay.
Has been able to, wait. I mean, we still, I'm not gonna lie to you, we've been to the same person 4 times in one day.
Right. So is that coming as one overdose or is that coming?
No, that counts as 4. That counts as 4 different calls, unfortunately, paperwork, it's done on all those. But it went down. I mean, we started out really fast last year also, and it seemed to just come down a lot, so.
And where do people get the Narcan?
It's available through public health and other places, and they're talking about putting the machines out and stuff for people to get them out of the machines, and
Okay.
um,
So that's the system.
that's mostly their system. I mean, we get really positive results for outcomes on our overdoses with huge help from, Mark and his crew, and especially Ken and his crew. They get there, very quickly with us, and they're all carrying the Narcan, and they're all fire it in, and sometimes they're firing too much, so it times out just when we get there that they decide to wake up and start swinging. But other than that, it's not bad. Yeah, but I say it every single year, I'll say it again, Augsburg has an outstanding system, the way it works. We have a great working relationship with Kenny. Yes, every once in a while we'll have our differences. Same thing with Mark. Mark has been outstanding, and the citizens in this community are really lucky to have the system that they do.
Mhm.
I've also got a question. How does insurance coverage work if patients are going to the Canadian healthcare system?
That's the big fight.
That's the big issue.
That's the huge fight from up in Canada, and them taking American insurance. We've been told by one financial group up at the hospital that absolutely bring them here. We will take the American stuff because it's a level 1 trauma, it's a stroke, or it's a heart attack type situation. But on a different one, they're like, no, we can't do that. So we got like competing sides. So we're trying to get that ironed out, and then if we can, we will use it.
Ken, could you elaborate a little more about the transport for the CAT scans? Is that they're admitted to the hospital locally here, and then you have to transport them from this hospital to another hospital to have that CAT scan and then bring them back to the facility?
Correct.
So that's where the question comes, that it's not really the transport, they're an inpatient there and they're being transported for a test.
Correct. So when we take them to River Hospital, they do not even register the patient at River. They just, we take the stretcher in. Sometimes I'll leave them on a stretcher. Sometimes I'll pick them off. They'll run through, do the CAT scan, put them back on our thing, and send us, meanwhile, I mean, if they decide that, they have findings and do some other stuff, our crew can be sitting there for 2 hours, 3 hours, waiting for them to release them back to come to Claxton. The biggest problem that we're seeing is if we take a stroke up someplace, and if it's a blockage, if the clot, everybody carries the drug called TPA that they can give to start, breaking up the clot. The problem we come with is if the person has a bleed and they need to get to someplace like SUNY Upstate where they can have the proper care for a bleed of a stroke, we don't know whether we just come out and say, forget about it, we're just going to go as a 911 call straight down to Upstate. Do we have to go back to Claxton Hepburn so that they can do the COBRA paperwork and the EMTALA stuff and get permission from upstate that they now have a bed to accept. And if they don't, does that mean now we're going to go to Albany or Westchester or wherever? The amount of time that is spent and delayed on patient care is unbelievable if we bring them to the local facility.
Thank you.
Okay, Storm, anything? I have a couple, Ken.
Sure.
First, one of the comments made in the New York State Rural Task Force report indicates the need to have EMS recognized in the state as an essential service and to generate public funding. And I just want to let you and the community know that the New York State Conference of Mayors continues to be an advocate for declaration of general ambulance service as an essential service in the state, and to accompany that with sustainable funding stream for the delivery of medical services throughout the state. So you have an advocate in the Conference of Mayors statewide. Because
For the squad, I appreciate that. For me personally, since there's no pension plan currently in New York State for EMS workers, there would become a pension plan that they would be eligible for. And I have been told that anybody that is in the New York State pension plan already, their time will be covered up. So, Storm, 6-month notice if that goes through, sir, possibly retirement. But yeah, it would give me a lot of time. And it'd be very comfortable.
the other thing is, relates to law signed into action by the governor last December, requiring each county in coordination with regional emergency EMS to convene meetings and to develop and maintain a comprehensive county-wide emergency. So I'm just curious, with a deadline, unless something's changed, of 6 months after that, so by mid to late June. So I'm just curious, from your perspective, are conversations going on? Have you and your team been involved in those conversations?
I have on the state level, I'm on state committees. As far as our county, we sent out a leaders survey on this, to which I put our answers in last week as to our section seems to be okay up here in our district. We seem to be fine. There's some really, other areas of the county that are in trouble. Part of the problem is they keep talking about wanting to start a county-wide EMS service. I need a whole lot more details because I'm not convinced that a, governmental type run, no offense to you guys, but a governmental type run entity would be really good for up here. And I don't know when they're going to get the money for it. That's the other thing. I don't know what county's getting the money for it. So, but yeah, we have gotten a survey. They're trying to move it along. What happens though is the county and the REMSCO develop this plan between the two of them. The REMSCO has to approve the plan for the counties that are involved for it to go. So it's not just the counties, it's also the REMSCOs.
Just curious, I mean, in
I'm
researching it.
Anything that will help us, we'll take it. But that report was pretty damning for rural areas.
Thank you. Anything else from council?
No, just echo the thanks for what the squad does for the community. It's really integral to our citizens and our safety. Thank you.
And you can continue teaming with our public safety people. As you mentioned before, we're a shining example that others in the state could copy.
We are very lucky. On the CT scanner, one thing I did forget is I was able to reach Scott Gray this past weekend. He called me. He submitted a letter already with 3 demands that we asked for. That number one, either New York State provides them with the funds to fix their current CAT scan. Number 2, provide them with a long-term trailered CAT scan for as long as it's needed. Or number 3, pay Items for Rescue a whole bunch of money to let us buy another ambulance and hire additional personnel in which to take care of the problem. So we gave him 3 different things, and Scott was nice enough. He submitted that, and I believe Senator Wolfson is doing the same today. So we're hopeful.
Okay, again, Ken,
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it very much.
Thank
As
you.
always.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy.
Hey, sir, have a good evening.
All right, next, we have a report on 2025 crime statistics that will be presented by Police Chief Mark Kearns.
Good evening, Council, Mayor, citizens of Ogdensburg. So 2025 was also a busy year for the Ogdensburg Police Department. We handled approximately 10,060 calls. That's about 5.5% more calls than we did the previous year. But I do have to recognize my employees that for in 2025 that handled those 10,000 calls. We had 13 officers working the road patrol in 2025 for about 9 months. They handled all 10,000 complaints. They fulfilled our needs as school resource officers. They fulfilled our needs at the Ogdensburg International Airport. They kept that department running 24/7, 13 road officers. And then we hired 6 officers as well in 2025. These 6 officers attended the academy, and then they have about a 3 to 4 month field training process. And those same 13 officers I spoke of conducted that field training process. So there was a lot of work on a small group of officers. And they did an excellent job for the city as far as I'm concerned. If you remember, it was late 2024 when we were discussing the budget for fiscal year 25. And I asked to hire those 6 officers. And I told everyone in this room that the impact of those officers won't be felt until fiscal year 2026. And we'll talk a little bit more about that as this continues. We have the next, oh, that's the right slide, thanks. So yeah, our arrests went up about 120 more arrests in 2025 over 2026, over 2024. And trying to do a deep dive into it, we had about the same amount of bench warrants between the 2 years. So a lot of these are in progress arrests or are officers just solving the crimes that are assigned to them. So that's almost a 24% increase in arrests that these officers made. Next slide, please. So this is just a basic graph so you can kind of see where some crimes have increased more than others. Some have significantly increased. But then the next slide really shows it the best. So I appreciate the percentages here. And there's some stats that should really be notated. Our larcenies went up 16%. For the community, we're well aware that right now, if something's not nailed down, it seems to be stolen in this city. Our major box stores have things stolen out of them left and right. Our assaults also went up 55%. Our sex crimes went up 111%. None of these are stats that, as your police chief, I want to see occur. I can't do much about preventing assaults or preventing sex crimes, but I assure you we're doing our best to solve all those cases and get the right justice for our victims. Larcenies, though, I do have hopefully a plan of attack for this coming year. I have requested meetings with the district attorney's office as well as Ogdensburg City Court to speak with the judges. These larcenies are roughly about 30 people in our community that are repeat offenders time and time again. And as your police department, all we can do is make the arrest. What happens afterwards is out of our hand as far as who is prosecuted, who is given, ACDs, which is basically if you're good for 6 months, your charges go away. But I'm seeing that these people who are given ACDs just continue to get ACDs time and time again, and people are not being held accountable for might be a small crime in the eyes of the court as a larceny, but it's a big deal when your property is violated and something is stolen from you. So I'm hoping that those conversations are positive and there's some accountability in 2026. Our juvenile crimes also went up 62%. And looking into that, I think that's just a proactivity of our school resource officers and our establishment. Late last year, when we revamped the police department, I have one supervisor overseeing our school resource officers and is in charge of our juvenile program. So things are being documented much better, that this is a juvenile related crime, just not a general crime. So I don't think that's truly an increase. I think it's just statistically being documented correctly. Our motor vehicle accidents did increase about 30%. The only way we can really combat motor vehicle accidents is try to be a presence in areas. Our number one cause of motor vehicle accidents are failure to yield right away at a stop sign. So it's people going through stop signs. We're just not seeing cars coming and they're going through the stop sign. Distracted driving, believe it or not, is a very small percentage of our motor vehicle accidents. That's like cell phone use, things like that. And then the remainder is, striking animals or glare. You couldn't see something because of glare, trying to avoid a pothole and you hit something. But the most, again, are just failure to yield right away at stop signs. The Governor Traffic Safety Board did contact us and has offered us to apply for a grant. We have not been eligible for the last 2 years. I don't think it will be a huge amount of money, but if I can have $5,000 or $6,000 from the Governor's Traffic Safety Board, we'll gladly take it, and that will allow us to put some officers out just for vehicle and traffic enforcement, which hopefully will bring our motor vehicle accidents down and our traffic complaints down, because our traffic complaints did also go up 52%. We wrote about 100 less tickets, but we made 100 more arrests. So arrests take a lot more time, and our 13 officers that worked last year couldn't be making arrests and writing traffic tickets at the same time. I know those stats are going to go skyrocket this coming year. The officers we hired are go-getters. They're very motivated. They are stopping a lot of cars already. They're out in our neighborhoods patrolling, and I hope that presence continues. The next slide, please. I just wanted to bring up the phone calls that we receive at the police department. We receive over 20,000 phone calls a year. This is pretty consistent year over year. And I'm bringing that up just to give credit to the desk personnel we have here in the city. There's no way our county 911 system could take it on our day shift and answer 20,000 phone calls. We would completely overwhelm the 911 center. That's a lot of phone calls for our dispatchers to be taking. So as you can see, about every other phone call generates a call service. If we're receiving 20,000 calls, and we answer about 10,000 calls of service. So almost every time someone calls, they're calling for a service needed by our police department. Any questions?
Questions or comments from council?
So I'll tell you, first of all, I guess let's start with the easy one. Overdose. Looks like it's down again. Are your overdoses matching Ken's, or are these different overdoses?
They should be the same. I believe Chief Gardner said he had 47 for 2025. I have 46 listed, so we may not have responded to one for whatever reason. They are, I will say this, I don't know if overdoses are going down or reported overdoses are going down, because again, with the great push of Narcan across our community, and people handle a lot of these on their own. You put Narcan in someone's nose, and usually we don't get a call until someone's already done that. They've done it once or twice already, then they decide to call 911. So how many overdoses are occurring that we're not aware of, I couldn't tell you.
So that number's probably low in terms of what a real
Overdoses, absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
And the other comment, or I don't even know where to begin. I remember when during the last administration, we had a nice police town halls,
Yes.
we can call it, right, down here. And we were down to, I believe, one detective at the time.
Yep.
And people were complaining about the drugs and things like that. And they were flat out straight, listen, we're trying to solve sex crimes.
Yep.
That's our number one priority. We're talking children and things like that. And so I'm wondering, when I see the 9 and then the 19, is that also a documenting difference? Is the 9 more of a false number?
No, those are true and accurate numbers. Those are people reporting that they're a victim of sexual abuse.
Mhm. It's, that's the stuff that's killer right there.
Yes.
You know, and
Yep. And we, again, because of the hiring we made, our investigations unit is right now running 2 detectives. We have a full-time narcotics officer and a full-time general crimes officer. So one's handling the drugs as his main job, and the other detective handles, well, sex crimes are his main focus. And after that, it's, following up on the burglaries and things of that nature. I'm hoping to make a promotion to a detective sergeant in the investigations unit in the next 30 days or so. And that will give our investigations unit 3 investigators. So.
good. So with the 6 new guys,
Mhm.
are they full force now?
Yeah, absolutely. As you're aware, those 6 have now became 5. But yes, they're full force, they're counted as manpower, and they're all doing an excellent job.
Okay. I've been getting complaints about specific areas in town. I can talk to you about that later. I'm hoping to get some boots on the ground in that area and clean her up. But
Yeah, absolutely. And like, I'll tell you the same thing I tell every citizen, call us when something is happening the next day, or, hey, I almost called you because this happened last week. We're behind the 8 ball. Please call us when stuff is happening, no matter how small it is. That's why we're here. That's why we have a hometown police department. Call us when something looks suspicious.
that's what I told people. Yeah.
Something's just not right, give us a call.
Yeah. Super.
Counselor Scamperly, I'm more than happy to work with you on that.
Good. Thank you. Yeah.
Anyone else on council?
Yes, Mayor, if I can.
Chief, Mike.
Chief, great job, by the way, with everything that you're dealing with. Sounds like there's an echo there. I apologize for that. The 3 high watermarks here, the assaults, the sex crimes, and the juvenile. How much of those assaults could possibly be mingled into both those other categories, or vice versa for that matter? You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, they're standalone, because when we do our crime reporting, it reports the high charge. So the assault itself is a physical contact assault. I don't know if I did ag assault on here or not. I did not. So they're all lumped together. So this assault category going from 47 to 73 incidents are where somebody has a physical injury, because that's what we need for a definition of assault. If it wasn't that, it would fall under the harassment category. So, and a lot of these, I have to break it down some more, but we got to remember our police department handles everything at the psychiatric center, which includes the sexual predator unit, Trinity Building, Northwood Manor, every building down there. So we get a lot of our assaults from those buildings. We also have a lot of assaults that come from Claxton Hepburn and our mental health unit, where patients have assaulted nurses or other staff members. These aren't all assaults from, a general public. It's not a random person being assaulted. It could be an assault from a domestic incident within the household, or from these other outside entities. It's not someone walking down the street and just randomly being assaulted. It's nothing like that.
Thank you, Chief.
You're welcome.
Apologize for that. Phone ring.
Okay, anyone else? Chief, again, thank you for your report, and certainly continue to commend the people who work with you.
I appreciate that. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Next, we have one proclamation tonight for Women's History Month, and I'll make that proclamation now. Whereas the month of March is nationally recognized as Women's History Month, a time to celebrate the contributions and achievements of women throughout history. And whereas the city of Ogdensburg has a rich history of strong and influential women who have made significant contributions to our community and beyond. And whereas we honor and recognize the accomplishments of 3 remarkable women in particular: artist Sally Jans Farnham, suffragist Marion Sanger Frank, and physician Dr. Mary Bryan. And whereas Sally James Farnham, a native of Ogdensburg, was a renowned sculptor whose works can be found in prominent locations such as Central Park, the Pan American Union in Washington, D.C., and the Library Park National Historic District in Ogdensburg. And whereas Marion Sanger Frank, along with her husband, Mayor Julius Frank, were instrumental in the women's suffrage movement in Ogdensburg and played a crucial role in securing the right to vote for women in New York State. And whereas Dr. Mary Bryan, a pioneering physician and advocate for women's health, dedicated her life to providing medical care to women in India, then was the physician in charge of infants at the United Helpers Home and was medical director of the Society of United Helpers. And whereas these women have left a lasting impact on our city and serve as role models for future generations of women. And whereas their contributions and achievements have paved the way for progress and equality for women in Ogdensburg and beyond. And whereas it is important to recognize and celebrate the accomplishments of women throughout history and to continue to strive for gender equality and empowerment. Now therefore, I, Michael Tooley, Mayor of the City of Ogdensburg, do hereby proclaim the month of March as Women's History Month in our city. I urge all citizens to join me in honoring the legacy of Sally James Farnham, Marion Sanger Frank, and Dr. Mary Bryan, and to celebrate the achievements of women in our community and beyond. In witness whereof, I have hereunto sent my hand and caused this seal to be affixed. Yes. We do not have any need for a public hearing tonight, so it brings us to personal appearance. Before we start, I do have a statement to make. I note that in the past 3 city council meetings, I as chair have been somewhat liberal and lenient in regards to time permitted to speakers when addressing council on certain matters. Council has asked that I be more consistent in administering stated policy pertaining to public comments to council, and I plan to do so. So per policy, when addressing council, please abide by the guidelines that are included in our meeting agenda. Primarily, stay within stated time limits, please address council as a whole, and please refrain from personal, impertinent, or slanderous remarks. So with that, if anyone attending in person would like to address council, please come down to the podium and you will have 5 minutes.
All right, well, good evening. My name is Julie Bush. The last time that I was here at January's meeting on the 19th was when the announcement of the job cuts were announced for North Star Health Alliance to be split between Claxton and Carthage Hospital. And now on a return visit, I'd like to speak to what I know best, is to my radiology department. I've been on the staff CT and rad tech for 34 years. And up until the last 1 to 2 years, we have always had a current service contract on every piece of equipment in our department. It didn't matter if it was ultrasound, a portable, a C-arm for the OR, regular X-ray, MRI, everything had a service contract. And we could call, have service come at any time when something wasn't working correctly. Our equipment also got the 1 to 2 preventative maintenances that were scheduled per year, depending on what kind of equipment that it was. Now, fast forward to this last year, 1 to 2 years, we have 0 service contracts on any of our equipment. That has led us to the current situation with our CT machine. And it did go down a week ago. And so I worked Saturday night, the 28th, so it went down on March 1st because February was a short month. But our administration has failed us terribly by behind the scenes thinking that they're saving money, not paying on service contracts, which has led us to the situation that we're in. When you're a facility with 1 CT scanner or 1 MRI scanner, and that's your source of revenue and how you take care of patients that come in either through the ER, outpatient, referral, like this is on them. This is a huge, I mean, you're supposed to take care of your equipment and your departments that are helping the hospital run. And I don't know what to say. I think it's greed and incompetence that has led us to the situation that we're in, and we're the ones stuck dealing with it. And now that we're in bankruptcy court, I hope that more eyes are on, like, we need to demand more of an explanation from our hospital board. And we need to stay more informed, like with our interim CEO, we need to demand that he has meetings with the general public. He needs to introduce himself and why he's the one that's going to help us, you know, through this worst situation our hospital's ever been in. You know, like, there's so many questions that need to be answered, and we need some sort of public informational sessions. I think we need to demand it. And, you know, because our staff, you know, our staff is starting to internalize what's going on and almost blaming themselves. But I'm like, we didn't do this. We do what we do best. Like, we have our certifications. 3/4 of our staff has a second certification in the modality that they work in, you know, whether it's CAT scan, MRI, our ultrasound staff, mammo. We do what we were hired to do. And we have ACR, American College of Radiology certifications in every modality, ultrasound, MRI, CT, and the hospital's failing us by not keeping up their end of keeping our equipment working in top order. You know, I mean, if you were going to let some service contracts go, okay, but you should definitely have prioritized CT and MRI for our department. And, you know, again, I never thought I would find myself at a city council meeting trying to champion support and, you know, spreading information about what's going on, but like, that's where we are. And you know, things are different now that it's in bankruptcy court, but I think we need to stay on it. We need to stay informed, and we need to demand more public informational sessions coming from our board at the hospital, from our interim CEO, everything. I can't speak for what's going on in Carthage. I don't know how well informed their community is, or if they're just riding it out status quo, but I would prefer not to be in that category.
Julie, this isn't a question and answer time, but I just want to clarify what you want from council. Do you want us to ask?
I think we should demand, like, from, I think our hospital board owes us an explanation, a little bit of, did they have so much trust in our hospital administrators just because they were local, and, oh, you know, the little skepticism wasn't there, but, like, I don't know, were they all asleep at the wheel? I don't know. Like, why, how did we get to such a terrible point, you know? I mean, and with the job cuts, I mean, it affects all of us. Like, it's our healthcare as employees in addition to everybody else in the community, let alone, you know, our most vulnerable people who go to dialysis and who are getting treatments at the cancer center.
Right.
Scary times. And I think we all need to be as informed as possible, like, and demand it, you know, like now, like, I don't know, but I'm just.
Okay.
Thank you, Julie.
I mean, I agree with everything that Ken has said, you know, transport's out and stuff. And we're supposed to be on diversion when our CT machine, I don't think anything neuro is coming being brought to our ER, correct?
You come to the podium. If you're going to speak in, please come to the podium.
So what we're being told at the rescue squad is that from 7 a.m. to 3 p.m., they have an MRI that is working and they are staffing, but that they cannot get staffing to cover that MRI from 3 p.m. until 7 a.m. And then they have no CAT scan, and that's when they're kicking our behinds. So that's what we're being told. How much of it is true, whether they can actually get staff to go and cover that, I don't know, I'm as skeptical as she is.
Thank you. Thank you, Julie.
And even as far as the MRI,
Julie, please your time.
okay, all right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Bill.
Look at it later.
Thank you.
So you can probably guess what this is about. Wayne Snyder. Good evening, council, mayor, city manager. Here to discuss the home business issue that continues to plague us. I'm really not clear as to why the council passed it off on the planning board to make recommendations for this particular issue, as I believe it isn't their job. The city manager said this was the council's decision to make. The planning board didn't seem too interested in it, but they are willing to have a public meeting and hear what we have to say. We did attend the last planning board meeting, and two things came up during those discussions. One was the affidavits that were submitted by people that said they were not operating a home business. We all know they are. The planning board did acknowledge that if the affidavits were notarized, that it would be considered a felony if people were not truthful in filling them out. You got a list of the affidavits that were sent. According to New York State, intentionally making a false sworn statement in an affidavit, which is a written document under oath, constitutes a crime under penal law, generally punishable as a Class A misdemeanor, up to 1 year in jail, Class C felony, 4 years in prison. City staff may want to take another look at the affidavits and contact these businesses again to give them the opportunity to resubmit their affidavit before the next city council meeting. If the city chooses not to, they'll be taken to the DA's office so they can read it. And the city can do the aftermath since they chose to have people fill them out. Second thing was the enforcement issue. The city manager did admit to the planning board that the enforcement of the current ordinance was an issue. The planning board did seem to question how it would be enforced without going door to door. Everyone from us to the council, to the city manager, to the planning board seems to be questioning or not and how this can be enforced. I think council should, with Mr. Cronus's approval, should directly ask Chief Stahl, seems how nobody seems to know the answer, his honest opinion on whether or not him and his code enforcement department can enforce this home business ordinance equally across the city, as it is going to be extremely time consuming. If he says yes, then enforce the current ordinance, pass the new one, hold the city manager accountable, and code enforcement accountable for enforcing. If not, then suspend the charges on the small group of people you are charging until the city staff and the council can figure out how to enforce it. The council just keeps kicking this down the road. Make a decision and go with it. As the city manager said at a previous meeting, every time you have to stop, discuss this issue, other things aren't being done. We will continue to press this issue until it's enforced equally or suspended until enforcement can be resolved. Enforce the ordinance with timely results or suspend it. I would consider suspending it as I don't think the city wants to deal with the affidavit issue and the possibility of charging people with felonies. I don't think the city manager would be upset if this was temporarily suspended. And I don't think the city manager would be too upset to not see us here. Thank you.
Thank you, Wayne.
Good evening. My name is Jennifer Shaver. I've been a very long-term resident of this community. I spent the first 35 years of my healthcare career at Claxton, and the last 13 working with hospital in various positions, not only locally, but across the state and even nationally. But our home has always been here, and this has always been my hospital. And it's ironic because Julie and I didn't compare notes, but the reason I wanted to address council tonight was very factual, and thank you, Mayor, for your I benefit from structure, so the facts.
facts that I gathered from simple research online, and that is the number of people, community residents that have been laid off at our facility or terminated. It started in 2020 with the loss of a chief financial officer. Lovely, bright, that's personal opinion, lady who had done a great job for Claxton for about 9 years, was laid off, and the chief financial officer of Carthage was appointed the interim CFO. And along the lines of efficiency, combining services, that was the reason given. Shortly after that, there was 20 people laid off, and the reason given was post-COVID, drops in volumes, things like that. Again, community residents, and I have no idea, I don't think anybody can find the answer or where the split is, like with Carthage and Claxton being the 2 hospitals in this system. And when there's a number announced and a percentage of the workforce, I cannot find anywhere, and I'm a very good researcher. So, but for a fact, in May of 2022, 40 people from the finance office were let go. That included registration clerks, medical records personnel, and those were people from Claxton. Some of those people had worked at that hospital for 30 plus years. The reason given in the paper and on the news was they were unable to adapt. They hadn't learned certain things, and we had lost $18 to $20 million. I am not advocating that we be a municipal hospital by any means, but when Julie says we need to be more involved as a community and as our elected officials, whatever the outcome is of this debacle, we need to find the answer together. So that was the layoffs, and then comes January. Again, 125 people. We don't know what the split was, but I will tell you that there is a horrible trend in that very senior people, high-paid professionals, physicians, and 1 nurse manager were eliminated, but their jobs weren't. They were assigned to people with lesser seniority. These are people in our community that, for example, I'm sorry, I need to drink. I don't think we talk too much. The nurse manager grew up here. I watched her develop from a young nurse to a mature, wonderful professional that did amazing things. And when she was walked out of that hospital months after a stellar evaluation, and her unit assigned to a nurse with less than 5 years experience, her job wasn't eliminated, she was. And I think that's something that we need to, if we're going to bring community members, we raised our children here. I want people to come here. How are we going to do that when people can't be guaranteed that they can work good, make good money, and have a career? On the other hand, the money. I've totaled a total of post-COVID money came shortly after the COVID layoffs in the form of almost $900,000. Again, no, I don't believe anybody. I'm not an employee of the hospital, but the staff that has shared with me, they don't know where that was spent. From October of 24 through December of this year, the hospital received a total of $82 million in various grants that were given for various reasons. And as you know, it was well publicized that they accused the state of withholding funding based upon changing reports. Regardless, this has been a 25-bed acute care hospital since June of 25. So 40 behavioral health beds and 25. Thank you. May I give 2 pieces of information to the clerk? One is my name and my contact information. I'm not saying I'm a subject matter expert, but I know a lot. The other is the contact information for the bankruptcy court judge who will accept letters or on-site delivery for any challenge to the current decision to make the restructuring officer an organization that 3 people are each making $450 an hour. The same people that have been working with the hospital that saw us to this point. So Thank you for your
Thank you,
time.
Kevin.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, home-based business, Arlene Kaya. Over 2 years now, city council really didn't want to deal with this matter. It's really shown at the last public hearing meeting. Mayor pushing ideas to get passed, then it got tabled. It was embarrassing to watch. Then you sent us off to the planning board. Why? Planning board is doing a public hearing April 7th at 5:30 PM. I encourage mayor and the council members to come because one question the planning board asked was why the affidavit's not enforced. But you can't have fire chief telling people that they don't have to, let them in and so on. You say one thing, then it comes back at you because you can't keep your ideas straight. The mayor says we don't have time to enforce or resources to go door to door, but yet codes went door to door on about 50 homes over sidewalks, but they don't have any addresses to offset it. Last I knew, codes had 5 people working in the department. The last letter that went out was October 6th of 2025. Why? Both city mayor and city manager both state they cannot enforce this, so why does council think it can be enforced? The mayor postponed it into July of 2026. Why? Home-based businesses are already paying, but not other businesses. You need to suspend it now. Yes, it's discrimination. It can't be enforced through the city of Augsburg. Codes has only got 13 businesses for 2025, and one business owner passed away, so now down to 10. The prior city manager got daycare providers, not codes. 3 other businesses paying because they were paying more. That's why we're at this issue. That was not codes. Daycare numbers gone down in a few more years, more to come. So until this can be enforced, we will not be going anywhere at this time. Has mayor and council members even looked at affidavits? They can't be enforced, and why? Daycare providers signed the affidavits the same way as other businesses, but we are being charged, and we have to live in our homes to run a daycare, not storefront. But when a matter comes to your homes, things change. Like when something wanted to go to 4th Street, there was a no, moved to the other side of town, but then again, it didn't happen. So now it's back on this side of town, 104th Street. Social media post, a lot of improvement in the River District in the next 3 years. More talk, DR money come in? I would say yes with how you handle things and who posted it. As taxpayers should know the answer tonight. Did the DR money come in? I think it's time to say home-based businesses can't be enforced in the city of Augsburg. It needs to be suspended until we get meters. City manager said something about meters at the public hearing meeting. Did he look into them? Thank you.
Thank you, Arlene.
Oh, just keep them. Okay. Good evening, Tanya Snyder, home-based business. At the last city council meeting, I gave out handouts on a business that's been running for 2 years. I'm appalled that the city manager, code enforcement, mayor, and council have done nothing pertaining to this business according to the parcel status report dated 3/6/2026. This business is still registered underneath a residential piece of property and is still paying regular residential water and sewer rates with no additional rates being charged. I'm paying more than them. Why? They've been running for 2 years. This is a clear example of selective enforcement and just proves that the city is not enforcing the home-based ordinance equally within the city. You have all the information you need, yet fail to enforce it. Why does council think that any of these home business ordinances will be enforced if you won't enforce the ones that you are aware of now that you're not? At what point do you all realize that this home-based business process is intangible?
enforce the ordinance or suspend the charges currently being applied until you gather all the information needed to enforce it equally across the city. Thank you.
Thank you, Tanya.
Good evening, Mayor and Council members. My name is Tony Jo Berg, and I'm a New York State licensed group family daycare provider here in Ogdensburg. I'm here again tonight because I'm deeply concerned about the proposed increase in taxes and/or fees for home businesses. While I understand the city needs revenue to operate and serve our community, I ask that you consider the impact this will have on small home-based businesses like mine. Home businesses are not large commercial operations. We don't have storefronts, heavy traffic, or large infrastructure demands. In many cases, we operate quietly from our homes while providing services that are essential to our community. Home daycare providers in particular play a vital role for local families. We provide safe, reliable childcare so parents can go to work, support their families, and contribute to the local economy. Many families rely on small home-based providers because we are more affordable and flexible than larger childcare centers. We provide a personal, warm family feel to infants and toddlers in care that parents usually prefer over center-based care. At the same time, the cost of running a home daycare has increased significantly. Groceries, utilities, insurance, supplies, and licensing requirements have all gone up. Many of us are already operating on very tight margins just to keep childcare accessible for these families. Adding additional taxes and/or fees, specifically targeting home businesses, could have unintentional consequences. Some providers may be forced to close, move to other areas, and raise their rates. When that happens, families lose childcare options and working parents are affected. Most all cities across New York State recognize this and intentionally protect home daycare providers and other small home businesses from additional financial burdens because they understand the service we provide benefits the entire community. Rather than disregarding home business, I believe that our city should be supporting them. Small businesses, especially those run from home, are often the starting point for entrepreneurship, local jobs, and community stability. New York State Real Property Tax Law 581B requires that the use of a home as a licensed family daycare must be completely disregarded when assessing a property's value. Cities across the state treat family daycares as residential and do not increase taxes because childcare is provided in the home. I respectfully ask the council to reconsider their proposal to explore ways to exempt or reduce additional taxes for home-based businesses, particularly licenses for childcare providers who are serving local families every single day. Also, home businesses who are not using any extra resources to run. New York State already recognizes how important home childcare providers are. Under New York State Social Services Law 390, local governments cannot restrict or create barriers that would prevent family daycare homes from operating in residential areas. The state created this protection because it understands that communities depend on home childcare providers. When additional local taxes or fees are placed specifically on home businesses like daycare providers, it discourages the very services that families rely on. Many towns across New York State are currently trying to increase childcare availability, not reduce it. If a city makes it harder for any reason to operate, you can argue that they are working against state goals and laws. We all want our city to thrive. Supporting small home-based businesses is one way to make sure that it does. Thank you for your time and for listening.
Thank you. Anyone else in chambers? Now, if anyone attending remotely would like to address council, please use the raise hand feature. The city clerk will recognize and unmute one person at a time, and you will have 5 minutes.
The first individual is registered as Greg McNamara, and I will unmute that individual now. It appears you are self-muted, Mr. McNamara.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Hi, first I'd like to speak about the statement that was made before public comment tonight about the rules and the time restraint. And I know I've already pointed this out to you in the past, but the rules aren't law. They're just a basic guideline to help a meeting run smoothly and not, be ridiculously too long. If anyone wishes to speak a little bit past the time, it is perfectly legal. It is protected under the Constitution and our constitutional rights. And you guys want to, make proclamations for the Constitution and this and that when it's that appropriate time of year, and then you try to tell people they can't go past the time. The short answer is yes, they absolutely can go past their time. So let's please stop with that nonsense. The woman who spoke about the hospital, they made some extremely good points. And that was a good question of Dan to say, well, what do you want us to do, or the council? Well, I could tell you just a simple letter or maybe a proclamation or something along the lines of, all the people that have worked there all these years and, invested in the hospital themselves. They have a right to know what happened. Not everything should be swept under the rug and kept a big secret like everything else around the city. Someone should practically be going to prison over what's happened with that hospital's finances, if you ask me. Anyways, we'll move on from that. I'd like to congratulate Hosmers for the planning board approving their new project down there. I mean, there's no reason in the world why they wouldn't or shouldn't do that, but I wanted to congratulate them there. I also wanted to get back to Arlene's question, if we got the DRI money. I heard from a very reliable source today that we did, and if that's true, that's very good for the city. And I would hope that, we were going to let everyone know about that, but I figured I'd just go ahead first and do it. I'd also like to talk about winter recreation opportunities here. We have a full-time rec director now. We had amazing ice this year. There's no ice fishing derbies here. Places have all kinds of different winter events. There's a whole list of them I could go on about. Here we plow huge snowbanks in front of where people would drive onto the ice at the boat launches. A lot of people like to fish Lighthouse Point. We leave that all really inaccessible. It's a pain to get out there. You really got to drag your stuff a long ways. Then when the people come to have their reenactment, we go send the loader down there and plow out that whole area for them. I mean, just a little simple, not blocking the boat launches when the ice is 2 feet thick, or, making it accessible to get to that part of Lighthouse Point for the park, for the fishermen would be nice. Some fishing derbies would be nice. And having a full-time rec director, not a whole lot goes on in the winter. It'd be nice to see more winter activities take place. I also didn't appreciate the mayor last meeting saying that my speech wasn't relevant to the, when I was speaking. Excuse me, I can't think of the exact term. It wasn't citizen participation, but basically what I was getting to when you called the recess and you got upset and you don't like it, I was just saying how you guys can't run the city's finances. That's why these charges go on for the daycare providers and these little petty charges you guys have added for documents from the police station, contractors bringing brush to the dump. Anywhere you guys could add a charge to anything, you have done it. And the mayor did mention too that the no building permit fee was $250, I believe, which was why he made that comparison for the fee that was put forth for, I believe it was the home business thing, or people who don't report that properly. I don't know of anyone ever being charged a fee for not buying a building permit. I know several people who have been caught doing it, but as far as I know, no one's ever been charged a fee for that. I could be wrong. I would like a little better explanation on the departure of Mr. Parks. I'd like to thank him. I never really got to have any conversation with him at all, but a lot of people told me he's worked extremely hard to try to uplift the city and help the city, and I heard nothing but good things about him. And more than what's been reported, I've been told that there's more than, what you are saying is the reason why he didn't really stick around here. So, once again, appreciate it. Have a good one.
Thank you, Greg.
The next individual is registered as Penny Sharrow, and I will unmute that individual now. It appears you are self-muted, Mrs. Sharrow.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Oh, yay. Okay. Well,
Mrs. Chair, are you there?
Yep, I am. Can you still hear me?
We can hear you, but you're very faint. Is there a possibility you could speak closer to your mic or perhaps speak louder?
I'm sorry. Don't use that on my time, would you please? I don't want to be too loud. I think the smiles on the faces know why. I'm here again in regards to the pool. Can you hear me now?
We can, but it's very faint. Go ahead.
Oh dear. I don't think I've ever had anyone say that. All right. You're gonna get tired of hearing me. As you know, I sent an email requesting to go to the bids, and I was denied that in 2 different forms, which, we won't go there. I got an apology for what I figured I deserved an apology for. And I just wondered, the only reason I got the apology is because I inquired from a council member if they'd not heard anything from me, because I heard nothing from anybody. And so I got a copy from that counselor. And it was very nice. But in regards to me listing my qualifications in my aquatics background was not to get a pat on the back or any praise. I was listing it so you could see my expertise in the area of what I'm trying to express to you people. And to the city, I guess. I have no idea who to. I have a legitimate concern about the demolishing of the original pool, and I get no answers in regards to what's going on, I guess, basically. And I just kind of think I would like that as a taxpayer and as a person who worked there forever. Since myself and 2 others got grant information, Andrea, I wanted to see what was going on. That's how I asked to go to the bid day, so I could see exactly what they're putting out there for people. So I'm not going into this whole thing blind. Well, I'm still blind. I was denied that. I went to the public presentation of the pool. It was the only one public information on the pool. That's when I heard that it was going to be demolished and another one being built, which is a big expense. As compared to fixing and replacing the pool we have, we were approved for a substantial amount of money under renovations, not new. Some of the questions I have are as follows. Who made the decision to accept this design, which is substantially smaller than what we got now? No one knows, it appears. These plans were rubber stamped by someone, like a ghost, to get it out of the way. When the city got approved for the money, the $2 million to be exact, you would think more thought would go into it. We have a very talented DPW staff that will help offset our payback portion. Why not utilize them to lower our cost by repairing, not replacing the pool? With that kind of money, a comparative chart between repair or new should have been brainstormed, not just accepted. We hired engineers. They gave us one design. Did they sell that to us or what? Why couldn't they have done more? You could have presented to them, give us 2 different aspects. But that's what we got, one design. And it's a new pool. That's money in their pocket and out of ours. I would like to ask if the engineers give you plans or an estimate of what repairs on the pool would cost in comparison. I asked if that would be covered under the hiring contract. Again, no one knew if it was hired under that, in that contract for the engineers, if another aspect would be covered. And don't just tell me, show me that another estimate or design would cost more money. It's like we came late to the game and they're playing without us. It's the way I'm looking at it. They drew their pretty picture and walked away. I know there were meetings on the pool design. I was not invited to any of them for any input, even though I've been there the longest. Were there any women or taxpayers at these meetings? Maybe someone can answer that. I doubt it. It just seems we are going with the flow to get it over with. No pool this summer will be what transpires if you do this. Your backup plan for the school pool isn't going to work. The school pool is closed from May through August. So that leaves the people in this town that don't have a camp and don't have a pool in their backyard, no place to swim. So maybe people ought to be thinking on that before you're fishing a body out of the river near the bridges or somewhere else where little kids have decided to go swim. All right? No pools at all this summer. That's my biggie right there. Not all people have the camps and stuff that some people do. And that includes our Boys and Girls Clubs, which utilizes that pool on a daily basis. Could you please consider putting the brakes on this so we can have more discussion on the pool? Fix the locker rooms, update the electrical, put in the new filter system, the things you can do without disrupting the pool. Band-aid the pool. I will hurry. I've only got one page left.
Please,
Put a
please.
Band-Aid on the pool again and let us live through the summer one more time if we can. And keep the baby pool. Don't tell me you can't cause bids went out and how.
All right, Penny, your time is up for this presentation. Thank
Not
you.
surprised. The first 2 minutes were you telling me not to be loud.
Thank you.
Holy shit.
Kathy, please come meet the call.
I do not see any other hands raised here.
That brings us to correspondence. Do we have any correspondence this evening?
We do not.
Next, we have our consent agenda. That the claims is enumerated in general form warrant number 5-2026 in the amount of $418,794.79. And library warrant number 5-2026 in the amount of $0. And capital fund warrant number 5-2026 in the amount of $15,331.03. And community development fund warrant number 5-2026 in the amount of $0. And community renewal fund warrant number 5-2026 the amount of $0 as audited be and the same hereby are ordered paid. I so move.
Second.
Kathy, please call the roll.
Mayor Tully,
Yes.
Counselor Sully,
Yes.
Counselor Powers,
Yes.
Counselor Scamperly,
Yes.
Counselor Stevenson,
Yes.
Counselor Tebow,
Yes.
Counselor Trim,
Yes.
approved.
We do not have any appointments tonight, so that brings us to items for council action. Our first item of business will be read by City Manager Fonda Cronis.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. A resolution supporting increased aid to municipalities and strengthening New York State local partnership.
I'll move that.
Second that.
I'll second it, but I think it's important that the resolution be read in total to the community. Resolution supporting increased aid to municipalities and strengthening New York State's local partnership. Whereas Governor Kathy Hochul released her 30-day amendments to the executive budget, which included an additional $100 million in temporary municipal assistance to be allocated in the same manner as in the past 2 years. And whereas these additional investments reflect a recognition that New York's strength begins in its cities, villages, and towns, and that a strong state-local partnership is essential to delivering the services, infrastructure, public safety, and quality of life that residents expect and deserve. And whereas local governments across New York continue to face mounting pressures driven by inflation, increased service demands, infrastructure needs, and rising operational costs, while striving to provide relief to taxpayers amid a rising cost of living. And whereas NICOM Executive Director Barbara Van Epps, along with mayors from across the state, testified at the local government joint budget hearing in Albany, advocating for increased unrestricted aid in the strengthened state-local partnership. And whereas the additional $100 million in TMA will offer meaningful assistance to many municipalities statewide, helping to address fiscal challenges and maintain essential services for residents. Now therefore be it resolved that the city of Ogdensburg applauds Governor Hochul for recognizing the importance of investing in local governments and for reaffirming her commitment to strengthening New York cities and villages. And be it further resolved that the city of Ogdensburg urges the New York State Legislature to include at a minimum this additional $100 million in temporary municipal assistance in the adopted state budget. And be it further resolved that the city of Ogdensburg calls upon the governor and the state legislature to develop a more permanent and predictable solution for unrestricted municipal aid to ensure long-term fiscal stability for New York's local governments. And be it further resolved that copies of this resolution be transmitted to the governor, the temporary president of the Senate, the Speaker of the Assembly, and the members of the state legislature representing the city of Ogdensburg. Any comments from council? And again, this is just to revisit again, something was mentioned in the previous meeting about the governor making this adjustment in her 30-day amendments, that additional $100 million statewide, if it's adopted by the state legislature and signed by the governor, would mean an additional $400,000 in temporary municipal aid to Ogdensburg this year. So, Kathy, please call the roll.
Counselor Tebow?
Yes.
Counselor Trim?
Yes.
Mayor Tully?
Yes.
Counselor Selly?
Yes.
Counselor Powers?
Yes.
Counselor Scamperly?
Yes.
Counselor Stevenson?
Yes.
Approved.
Our next item of business will be read by City Manager Fonda Cronis.
A resolution authorizing the city manager to enter into a professional services agreement to assist the Planning and Development Office with grant writing services with strategic development specialists.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
And just a quick comment, the contract calls for a $5,000 a month payment, which is equivalent to what we're currently paying in the now expiring 2-year agreement we've had with this firm. Is that correct?
That is correct. There's no increase to the contract.
Thank you. Questions or comments?
Just one comment. We're still looking for a city planner, correct?
We are.
Okay, good.
Kathy, please call the roll.
Counselor Trim?
Yes.
Mayor Tully?
Yes.
Counselor Selly?
Yes.
Counselor Powers?
Yes.
Counselor Scamperly?
Yes.
Counselor Stevenson?
Yes.
Counselor Tebow?
Yes.
Approved.
Our last item of business will be read by City Controller Angela Gray.
Good evening, council. This is a resolution authorizing the city manager to transfer funds to balance the 2025 budget.
Someone care to introduce this?
I'll move that.
Second.
And maybe a quick overview, Angela, please.
Yes, we were looking to transfer money in 3 areas. One is general insurance. Every year we budget the cost of health insurance, the cost of insurance to the city. Throughout the year, we pay claims over and above the insurance premium. So the transfer being asked for into the general insurance is to cover claims paid out of the insurance fund. In the area of property loss, we did a scrub of our receivables this year and determined that an additional $59,570 in old tax sales would not be collected. So we did a direct write-off of those. And also, we've been working to put our fiscal house of cards in order in terms of capital projects. And we've identified areas within the capital fund whereas the costs need to be covered, namely the shade project ready, et cetera. So going forward, we've been very diligent in budgeting for the matches on these projects. And so this is a cleanup of prior year projects.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from council? Thank you, Angela. Kathy, please call the roll.
Mayor Tully?
Yes.
Counselor Selly?
Yes.
Counselor Powers?
Yes.
Counselor Scamperly?
Yes.
Counselor Stevenson?
Yes.
Counselor Tebow?
Yes.
Counselor Trim?
Yes.
Approved.
That brings us to old business, and we'll begin with a presentation from Assessor Michelle Dilcox.
Hi, good evening. All right, so I'm here tonight to discuss a technical adjustment to the senior exemption income brackets. As you recall, in November, council approved an expansion of senior exemption, increased maximum income from the 18,000 to a 26,400 and adopted a sliding scale fee. During implementation, it was discovered that New York State requires specific income bracket increments, and the adopted bracket spacing must be adjusted to match that state formula. So this is a technical alignment, not a policy change. So next slide, please. So on the left here, so the state requirement, the income brackets must increase in specific dollar increments tied to the 50% income level that had been voted on in November. And on the left, we see what was adopted in November, and on the right, we see a list of what the state aligned corrected version of those is. The maximum income remains the same at the 26,400. The percentage levels remain unchanged, and there is no reduction in the senior benefit. All right, and so how we go forward with this, to process to align with state guidelines, introduce a resolution for a public hearing at the March 23rd meeting, a public hearing to be held on April 13th, and council vote on amended ordinance on April 13th as well. Are there any questions?
Any questions for Michelle?
So Michelle, it looks like it's just a small adjustment. We're not off by thousands, we're off by hundreds.
Yes, right, in the brackets, yeah.
And it does no harm to our intention.
Nope, it has no effect to, other than, it's just, that, like I said, it's a technical.
Thank you.
Very modest technical adjustment.
Yeah.
Questions or comments? Okay, so we'll look forward to the public hearing resolution at our next meeting.
All right, perfect, thank you.
Thank you. Any other old business?
I have one item, Your Honor.
Yes, please.
It's that time, spring is hitting us, and e-bikes are out in force. We did a really good job through our police department and our school district of educating. Is it possible that we could send that information out again as some reminders? I'm getting some complaints again, and seeing that, it just wouldn't hurt for educational purposes.
Noted.
Thank you.
Anyone else, any old business? That brings us to new business. Does anyone have any new business this evening?
I'd like to make one comment here, Mayor.
Yes, please.
Regards to Julie's presentation, I'd like to publicly commend the employees at CHMC for the job that they're doing under extremely difficult circumstances, to the extent that I hear reports that they're purchasing patient supplies out of their own pockets to provide adequate patient care. Thank you.
I think we all would echo that, Storm. Thank you for mentioning that. I have one item of new business, Your Honor.
Yes, please.
For many of the departments, we get an end of the year update, where we're at. And since we've been talking so much about the codes office, could we get an up-to-date end of the year 2025 update with how many building permits, how many re-inspections, just some overview of that, and year-to-date, maybe January and February before our next meeting?
The code enforcement office puts together an annual report. I don't believe it's complete yet. We have to file it with New York State. We'll be more than happy to share that.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else, new business?
You know, to Julie Bush's point and Jen's, like I said, I was asking specifically what you wanted council to do. And I know that you left an address for a judge. Whether council wants to consider writing a letter and getting involved is something that I think we should look at. I notice other politicians doing so, and advocating on their behalf. In terms of information from the board, I'm not sure where council could ask the board to hold their own public meeting or town hall or something. It sounds like the whole community is starving for answers, for something, for some sort of information as to what's going on. I don't know if we can, there's nothing stopping us from asking the board to publicly have a town hall and let the community know what's going on. And so I guess whether we do it as a council or I do it by myself, I would like to see council or the board have some sort of town hall on their own at the hospital, because I would like to be informed as well. And so I just wanted to say that I definitely support getting more information from the board. So it just seems like we're so lost and unaware of what's going on day to day, but other than watching the news. But
I would support that effort, Your Honor. It is a big question in our community, and it's very disturbing to hear about the CAT scans. It's very disturbing to hear about the additional duties that are being shifted to our rescue squad. Very disturbing to hear that service plans on equipment that our lives depend on is not being renewed. I really think that we need to form some kind of a letter, sometimes a question, and I would echo what Dan is saying, ask for some kind of information session from the board of directors and chairman or CEO of the hospital.
I just want to agree with Jen and Dan.
If I could comment, Mayor?
Yes, please.
I concur with Dan, Storm, Jen, Donna, and I'm sure everybody else as far as the quicksand at Claxton Hepburn Medical Center. But ultimately, at the end of the day, recognizing that they're in bankruptcy makes me wonder what is possibly available to the public. But I would surely like to see, or at least hear, from some of the board of directors as to exactly what is transpiring without having to compromise any issues related to the bankruptcy that's been filed, and by all means hindering that process, because let's face it, bankruptcy is going to take some time for this to come through, and that's still going to leave us without many of the services that are there. And not only at the hospital, but for the general public, in the surrounding area, and not just the city of Ogdensburg. But with that being said, I'd like to do that without compromising any legalities along the way to get as much information as we can and get this back on some kind of level ground and services to our community. Thank you.
I would suggest that, based on the comments shared this evening, both by public and council, I think I don't want to make a knee-jerk reaction tonight. I think we need to, take a step back and consider whether we're going to take any sort of formal action with regards to an idea in order to try to gather more information for the public on the situation at Claxton Hepburn. And not to discredit anything that Julie stated, whatever, but I mean, in terms of, a statement made to us that certain contracts may not have been renewed or whatever, the public, I'll say, would need some sort of independent verification. Not that I don't believe you, but I think we need to be cautious in, I'll say, appearing to make an accusation that could, at the end of the day, be inaccurate. Okay, so yeah, let's take a step back to think about how we might act in some way if we choose to do so. Receive input from management, receive legal input, and as our role as a council in this, if we do have a role, and so I guess I'll leave it at that right now to resume the discussion next meeting.
Agreed, Your Honor, though I'd also like to have an update if we are going to send any communication. The hospital, from my understanding, did get the 82 million. Part of those grants were because it was transferring to an acute care center, which has occurred. And my understanding from the press and from what I have heard is that there was another payment that was supposed to have been received, but because paperwork had not been completed. I would like to know whether that is still being pursued just to help the hospital, or if that now, because of the bankruptcy, is no longer a possibility. I would be interested if we could find that out as well.
Any other comments on this topic? Okay. Any other new business to come before council this evening? Okay, so that brings us to items for discussion, and we'll begin with City Manager Fonda Cronus.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted, there were some questions posed during the discussion period. So I wanted to make some clarification so that the public is aware. The planning board did conditionally approve the brewery. It is not fully permitted or approved yet. There are some conditions that need to be met, so I think that's an important distinction to make. I'll also comment that the city does not make human resource or personnel comments in public or otherwise. So any questions regarding that will not be discussed. I also would like to point out that there are no, with the home business fees, there are no additional property taxes being assessed to daycares. I think maybe somebody may have misspoken. I just wanted to clarify that. The other point I'd like to make is that New York State has ruled that council is within its authority if it wants to, if it desires to charge daycares and other home businesses additional for water and sewer. So those are some discussion points I just wanted to clarify for the public.
All right, and then we'll continue then with the presentation or discussion about limited inventory of the penny.
All right, regarding the penny shortage nationwide, November 2025, they stopped minting pennies in the United States. The cost of each penny was $3.69 per penny to produce. So we're at a point right now where the banks are limited to the penny, limiting the pennies available, and they will no longer be available eventually for circulation to the general public. What happens as the tax authority collecting unit, our warrant is sealed as far as the amount that we have to collect, and we cannot collect more or less than that warrant, so it has to be to the penny. We have taxpayers that still pay their property taxes in cash. And this is a legal mandate that, despite the change in circumstances, remains unchanged. We cannot use discretion at the window as far as rounding down a couple pennies, rounding up a couple pennies, which we're starting to see in our communities on the merchant side. If we have a taxpayer that overpays us by 2 cents, we are required to write them a check refunding those 2 cents, even though the cost to do so far exceeds what that 2 cent refund is. Nor can we use discretion, and if the bill is a couple pennies, say, don't worry about it. So we are left with, because it is US currency, we cannot refuse cash, but we can force taxpayers to present to us exact change when we cannot give exact change. And we also encourage other forms of payment, electronic checks, etc. In some of the literature I've read on this topic, which, believe it or not, is somewhat a significant topic in local government, the general advice is to not engage in rounding exercises on taxes. There is legislation out there that's pending, and it establishes a rounding policy, but it's for merchants. And if this legislation is passed, it is non-binding for local government units. So we will continue to monitor this situation. But for taxpayers paying real property taxes, we must be presented with exact change in the event that we cannot give change.
Want to bum a penny jar?
Absolutely. Stop it, we'll cash it out. Yeah.
So if the proposed legislation is not compliant to municipalities?
Right now, the legislation, the technical read of it is that it's for the merchants, the retailers. And so in the event that legislation passes, it would be it is my preliminary understanding, a guide for local government units, but it's not something that we are bound to have to do. And I have further read and talked to some other tax collectors that if we allow a rounding in the realm of taxes, if we're allowed to do that, so it's pretty silent right now,
we would have to publish such with our warrant publicly. So there's some additional administration that we would do in that space.
But it sounds like though there could be a local option. You didn't say it's not compliant, you know, does that mean the city has no choice at all, or?
As of right now, we have no choice to
Well,
round. We
yeah.
are unable to round. So if
Right.
someone's taxes ended in 23 cents and they wanted to give us a quarter, we would not be able to accept that payment because it would be an overpayment that we would then have to write a 2-cent check for. So we can force them to present exact change.
So we'll see where the legislation goes and then react to it.
So
Then I would imagine if someone were to receive a 2-cent check, they're probably not going to cash that. So now at the end of the year, we could have lots of those checks out there uncashed.
that go to the state comptroller for
Right.
unclaimed funds. I mean, it's a big,
Yeah.
it's an arduous process, yes. So, correct. We're waiting. So for now, we encourage alternate payments and exact change. We
But if you
still
do have change, you'll do it. It's just,
We will, we still have some pennies left, but we are having a very hard time getting more pennies.
Any questions, comments? Okay, thank you, Angela. Next, I don't know if you're still up for us,
I am.
utility sales tax.
Okay, just a brief update and a little clarification for regarding utilities and the taxes thereon. Typically, we talk about sales tax in terms of utilities, and sales tax has two components, a state portion, 4%, and our current local portion is 4%. The tax law does provide that residential energy sources are exempt from the 4% New York State tax. However, counties and cities can choose to either tax or exempt the residential energy sources. School districts are authorized to impose a sales tax on multiple residential sources of sources of energy, which include gas, propane, electricity, and steam. So as of right now, the Ogdensburg City School District charges 7% on gas and electricity for residences and an 11% tax on commercial. So the commercial does pay more. Meanwhile, in terms of, and I'm not sure how much of this is prevalent anymore, but coal, fuel, oil, and wood, the city does get their 4% portion on those three sources. And again, St. Lawrence County does as well in that space. So in summary, the city of Ogdensburg is not receiving sales tax on natural gas or electricity. We do receive it in wood sales, fuel oil, and coal, which I think is fairly uncommon at this point. Not to be confused with what we discussed when we do the budget, the utility gross receipt tax. So the utility gross receipt tax is a tax on gross receipts of utility companies to include electric, gas, water, and telecommunications. So the city receives about rounding $85,000 last year in gross receipt tax. Not, and our biggest contributors to that are Liberty Charter, which is tied to Spectrum, and National Grid. We do see revenue come in from Verizon, AT&T, T-Mobile, but they're not substantial payers in the grand scheme of that mix. So I hope that clarifies kind of the various taxes of utilities that residents are paying in the city of Ogdensburg.
Questions?
No, thank you, Angela, for that. I reached out to the city manager and was asked by a citizen for this, so I appreciate your presentation.
My pleasure.
Thank you, Angela.
Thank you.
And then next, the planning board referral update.
Sure, thanks, Mayor. I did brief the planning board on the home business ordinance and situation. I provided the planning board with background information, and I also provided them with a discussion checklist. I also recommended, and they agreed to hold a public hearing at their next meeting on April 7th. The planning board is taking this opportunity over the next 4 weeks to absorb all of that information. We've been living this every council meeting for the better part of a couple of years now. They're just getting involved and up to speed on it. So I think they wisely took the opportunity to take the next couple of weeks and review the information that was provided to them, and then come back and get the public information, the public feedback through their public hearing, and then start discussions according to the discussion checklist that I provided for them. I anticipate recommendations coming out of that, although I cannot tell you what the schedule on that's going to be. Our hope is to get some recommendations out at the April meeting, but that is completely up to the planning board. But I wanted to make sure that there was an update for council and the public as to where we stood.
Questions or comments? Thank you for that update. Any other items for discussion? All right, I do have one, and it's pertaining to questions that have been asked of council previous meetings. Section 89-7 of the Freedom of Information Law has long provided that nothing in that statute shall require the disclosure of the home address of an officer or employee, former officer or employee of a retiree of a public employees retirement system, or stated differently, the home address of a present or former public officer or employee need not be disclosed under the Freedom of Information Law. That's both in law as well as in an advisory opinion issued in the letter I'm looking at from the executive director back in 2002. That brings us to citizen participation. At this time, if anyone attending in person would like to address council, please come down to the podium and you'll have 2 minutes.
At the planning board meeting, the city manager stated that the planning board could discuss it, but it had to come back to the council. So I don't even know why we are bothering the planning board, because it's going to be a council decision. 2, the DRI money came in. Anything going on tomorrow the taxpayers should know about?
Thank you, Arlene.
Just to take this time to respond to the questions that were asked. Jennifer, Vital Access provider money is for this round was for financially distressed hospitals. The rationale that was given on application, and I'm not violating any, this was all publicly accessible information, was the stabilization of operations during the transition from an acute care hospital to a 25-bed critical access. That money was distributed up through the last payment. And I have a very factual documentation that I put together that has citations and references that you could double check. I'll be happy to forward it to Mrs. Jock if you'd like to double check that. Right now, everything from what we've seen is in the hands of the bankruptcy court. Everything halted. And even if you get the opportunity to read Jimmy Lawton's article that was published today in North Country, it's alarming. And it says a lot of facts that a lot of us have been sharing for a long time that we were worried was going to come to this, namely the fact that the bankruptcy court did approve the financial restructuring with the team of people that have been working with the hospital at exactly a cost of $450 an hour per person plus expenses. Again, it's publicly accessible. I'm not sure how many of you in the course of your work access these documents online, but I'll be happy to share the link where you can access that court motion that approved that. And so essentially every response we've gotten from legislators, county legislators, lawmakers, is it's in the hands of the bankruptcy court. We don't even know if the bankruptcy court will be the ones that appoint a receiver based upon the recommendations of the people that are now steering the ship. So again, I'll be happy to send those to Kathy.
Thank you. Anyone else in chambers?
Hi, Shannon again. I just had some follow-up questions. I wasn't quite sure. Did we ever, I know Miss Counselor Stevenson, you had asked about the gap with the taxes that you had asked last time you were remote. Did we ever get a response on why there was such a big gap? I wasn't sure if I had maybe missed a meeting or something where it was discussed. And I was kind of curious, I know the RFPs were due at the end of February for Diamond. I was wondering if we were going to bring those up, if that was going to be a public knowledge topic that we were discussing. And all the hubbub, I guess, about the grant, I guess I'm kind of curious if that's really something that we got. I mean, that would be exciting. And I was just kind of wondering if we were going to get like any of those, I guess, questions answered. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, if anyone attending remotely would like to address council, please use the raise hand feature. The city clerk will recognize and unmute one person at a time, and you will have 2 minutes.
The first individual is registered as Greg McNamara, and I will unmute that individual now. It appears you are self-muted, Mr. McNamara.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Alrighty, I'd like to discuss, it was before the last council meeting, I left it out of my speech. I had several property owners contact me that own property in the downtown area, and they were expressing their concerns about step-by-step purchasing the Mosaic building, I believe it is right now, from United Helpers down there. There's been no talk about that, and I don't know if it's true or not, but that absolutely cannot happen in our downtown, especially if we did get the DRI grant. What a disaster that would be. We cannot let that happen if that rumor's true. I'd also like to ask, I've asked this more than once, and for whatever reason, you are refusing to answer the question. I would like to know how many city employees live and pay taxes to the city that they work for. How many of them live here in the city? It's costing the city money, letting them all live out of town and in other villages, and they have very good jobs here. I'm not against it. If we set something up where if they were a landlord, they could, move out of the city, but they need to be paying their share of taxes here too. You guys want to provide all these jobs that the city doesn't have enough money for. They got to pay back a little bit too to Ogdensburg, and some of them do. They don't all live out of the city, but I believe quite a few of them do. And that stuff's all public information. You could find out at any, town office from any clerk, like what people pay in taxes and all that. If someone really wanted to dig into it, you could see like what, you couldn't get an exact number, but you could see, all right, there's a substantial amount of money we're missing out on here. And of course, it's not a popular thing, but when the city is in the financial shape it's in, and you guys are taxing people to death and adding dumb, unnecessary fees and all kinds of stuff, maybe the employees got to start giving back a little bit that want to work here but not live here. And then you got to think about their pride of their work, Do any of them even really give a shit? You got to think about that because they don't live here, the ones that don't. Thank you.
Thank you, Greg.
I do not see any other hands raised, Mayor.
We have a resolution to adjourn to executive session, and I will introduce that. Whereas City Manager Fonda Crone has requested an executive session with members of the Augsburg City Council to discuss proposed pending or current litigation. And whereas New York State Open Meetings Law permits City Council to adjourn to executive session for such purpose, now therefore be it resolved that City Council adjourn to executive session to discuss proposed pending or current litigation. Be it further resolved that any action resulting from this executive session shall be taken in open session. I so move.
Second.
Kathy, please call the roll.
Counselor Selly?
Yes.
Counselor Powers?
Sorry. Yes.
Counselor Scamperly?
Yes.
Counselor Stevenson?
Yes.
Counselor Tebow?
Yes.
Counselor Chen?
Yes.
Mayor Tully?
Yes.
Approved.
And I note there may be council action following executive session.
Jen.
Did you say that that's been approved?
Yeah, I just read the article.
We'll let you let go of the microphone.
Came out at 5 o'clock.
Yeah. I have
That's
an answer
crazy.
here, but I'm afraid
That's crazy. What's your number?
if we come back.
All right. Okay.
I'll send them. You send them? I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Pleasure inbox.
Anytime, anytime, send away.
That's just insane.
Right, where we are. She can reach out. You're right, Mayor. Thank you. That's funny.
So we've been over that, just so you know.
I know.
But just, we're still on, we're still on. We're still on.
It's not our business. I think it's not our business. No, they can't. It's actually, they can't. It's actually protect firefighters and police laws. And it's hard in Orange County because many of they couldn't hire civil servants because the cost of living was too high for what they wanted. So that was rejected.
You'll bring it back.
Is we good? All right, beautiful. Thank you.
5 years ago, we went.
Is it yours? Sorry.
Seeing you guys. So I didn't know. Yeah. I love very behind. Since we moved over there, I had to see more, so that would make sense. I didn't know if they went to a war or do or what. I had it. Yeah, we went over to the new house. Over line. So I was born and raised on Fourth Street. So we had went Now, my father passed like 10 years ago. My stepdad didn't work out 6 years ago, a year before we moved in. He didn't like work. I live on, I didn't ever see it. I had it.
Thank you.
You think they'll get there long? Yeah. But typically, yes. Gotta get her to go there.
Good night, ladies. But I just need to know. Oh, please, don't be yourself. I'm not.
I left my phone. And then when we put something on the calendar, I went to do it. Didn't have my phone. Thank you for that warning, Kathy. I would have thought.
Yeah.
Sort by this different thing. Like this thing, my salesperson, managing to that. So how do I sort by this? He's the only one. Sort by answering. Well, I answered
Hello, ladies.
Hello, sir.
Maybe we should do this tomorrow.
We're still live.
I don't even know what I do with it. Resolution. I don't need it.
I have to come back in, yes. So you'll see, there's some powers.
You already cleaned this counter up, Kathy?
No, sir,
They say it's got, looks like swipe marks on it.
not me. I was here when you got here earlier.
Wasn't you the disinfectant?
We're just waiting. Counselor Powers has rejoined us. We're just waiting for Counselor Tebow. That clock gives you false hope. No. Sorry. I didn't,
Change it, but maintenance is probably union grievance.
well, I must not have burned my house down. I left the Instapot cooking when I left, and I have a thing about leaving anything on.
I love all the electronic clocks. I've done reset like 18 of them down to 4.
I got a new stove and I didn't know how to set the clock. I must have Googled it for 20 minutes because it doesn't say clock. There's no button.
Yep.
Luckily, I'm better.
Everything's hard.
Luckily, I'm better with budgets. Or so I think.
I don't see him. I don't have my phone, so I don't know if perhaps he's having technical
I
difficulties.
love texting.
So Greg,
Says
can we
he's
talk
trying.
about things? Greg said something about a separate mosaic.
We are still.
No.
He said he raised his hand. Do you see anything, Kathy?
He came back in that way. Okay, hold on a second. I can try to make him a panelist.
Can you hear me?
We can now, sir. You went in the other way, but we've got you.
You got me?
Yes, sir. All right, Mayor,
Okay.
we are.
Thank you. So let the record show that at 8:20 PM, City Council returned from executive session and all members of council are present. We have a resolution to appoint a legal firm to provide bankruptcy counseling services that I will introduce. Is there a second?
Second.
The resolution is as follows. Whereas North Star Health Alliance, Inc., Carthage Area Hospital, Brook Terrace, Inc., and Clancy Hepburn Medical Center, Inc. are identified as debtors in bankruptcy case numbers 26-60099, 26-30078, 26-60100, and 26-30079, filed in the United States Bankruptcy Court for the Northern District of New York on February 10, 2026. And whereas the city of Ogdensburg has a fiduciary interest in these bankruptcy proceedings, and whereas the city of Ogdensburg requires specialized bankruptcy counseling services to represent the interests of the citizens and taxpayers of the city, and whereas Wildes Law Firm possesses the required expertise to provide these services to the city, now therefore be it resolved, the city manager is authorized to sign a retainer agreement with the Wildes Law Firm to provide such services to the city of Ogdensburg. Been moved and seconded. I'll point out that since it's being brought from the floor, it will require a minimum of 5 votes to pass. Questions or comments? Kathy, please call the roll.
Counselor Powers?
Yes.
Counselor Scamperly?
Yes.
Counselor Stevenson? Yes. Counselor Tebow?
Yes.
Counselor Trim?
Yes.
Mayor Tully?
Yes.
Counselor Silly?
Yes.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.